Online and on Fox News, some recent reports have made some MAGAs out there a little upset with dating culture. Who you're seeing on screen is Riley Gaines, and she, on an outnumbered panel on Fox, I guess thought she was making a really clever point about hypocrisy, about some reporting about the tendency for liberals to date Trump supporters versus Trump supporters dating liberals. So for kind of just a fun, lighthearted segment, I'm bringing in Jessiah from Pondering Politics. Great to be with you, Jessiah.
It's great to be with you, Luke. And again, an excellent but not quite fourth place swimmer, Riley Gaines. I'm looking forward to unpacking this with you both.
Someone posted, on the treadmill watching Fox News talk about how DC libs won't date MAGA or Tesla owners. Wow, riveting news. Maybe later they can report on Trump's golf game. And with that being said, the news that she'll be responding to is this: DC dating is disrupted by Doge cuts. It's not news that dating has become highly partisan, especially in a town as politically obsessed as DC. DC residents overwhelmingly vote Democratic, and Trump staffers and right-wing supporters have found it difficult. They found it difficult, Jessiah, to find a date among the city's most liberal permanent dwellers since the first administration. We'll talk about how this is not just in DC, and there's a funny trend of it goes one direction, the opposition, but not really the other to the same degree. But here's Riley Gaines thinking she's making a very clever point about how liberals are being hypocritical by not dating MAGA.
And it's ironic because this is coming from the crowd that claims to be tolerant and accepting and embracing of diversity. But I will tell you what I've seen in my own personal experiences, they certainly don't embrace diverse thought.
No. And okay, I know.
What? I don't think being open to diversity and tolerant means we have to date certain people.
No, it's so dumb. Okay. Also, it just speaks to a sense of entitlement. So as Riley fifth place Gaines mentioned there, this idea that she really thinks this is a notion of hypocrisy, but it's not, because no one is entitled to your romantic interests. And by the way, this works for conservatives too. Conservatives are not obligated to date liberals, or Republicans are not obligated to date Democrats. I mean, your sense of ideology and your sense of personal values, right? I would actually encourage people, like, if you don't have alignment on key values and ideology, which is important to you, be it your religion, your politics, or whatever, it probably is a bad idea for you to date that sort of person. And again, this is a two-way street. So this is not the point she thinks it is. These are substantive differences. Now, I mean, if this manifests in a sort of interpersonal cruelty, like if there's a study out there that says like liberals are just reflexively taking swings at conservatives, right, or randomly insulting their moms on the street, like, yes, that's bad. You're not obligated to suffer that sort of abuse, right? But this idea that, oh, you won't date me because I support an authoritarian fascist who wants to run for a third term, who wants to deport American citizens to foreign gulags, who routinely insults men, women, marginalized groups, the trans community, the LGBTQ community, et cetera, and so forth, just because of like all those like small things. It's insane. That's just totally nuts. She clearly does not understand, DEI as well as she thinks she does.
I see why the liberal men are taking up all the liberal women. You got a bunch of Jessiahs out there, apparently. Pew Research says most Democrats who are looking for a relationship would not consider dating a Trump voter. And if you look at this is brutal. So it seems you have kind of reverse trends where way more right-leaning voters are open to dating left-leaning voters, but way fewer left-leaning voters are willing to date right-leaning voters at a time when political polarization and antipathy in the United States remains at modern historic highs. Many single people looking for a relationship wouldn't want to date someone who voted for the candidate of the opposing party in the 2016 presidential election. But again, Democrats are especially wary of dating a Trump voter. And then it goes through the specifics. About 7 in 10 say they probably or definitely would not consider being in a committed relationship. And then 45% say definitely they would not consider. And the specifics of it aren't super relevant other than there's that discrepancy. And that's what I want to explore briefly with you, Jessiah, is what I have some thoughts on what that is about, because it would make sense in a time where we're really divided that you would have similar percentages of people saying, I am open to dating the opposing viewpoints, and those saying I'm not open. Or I think like if I were to answer this, it's hard to ever say I would say never, but I get why a lot of people would put, most likely not, but I guess some crazy scenario could happen that wows me. But you would think those percentages would be similar, Democrats to Republican dating Democrats. But there's that discrepancy. And my first thought on it, and I'll throw it to you as to why, is because the perceived or actual views of Trump voters, from liberals' perspective, are much more a rejection of core humanitarian principles and fundamental principles. Whereas Trump voters perceive liberals, even if they disagree a ton, not as rejecting completely like who they are or what they at a very core level identify with. I guess that, because then it seems that would open up Trump voters thinking like, I could hate their views, but I'd like to be with them. Whereas to your point, I have acquaintances and friends in my life who have very different political views than me, and family members, obviously. And that's all great. So this isn't about rejecting people completely, but in a romantic, like pursuing marriage with somebody who has fundamental differences, especially for you and I, Jessiah, when it's our career venture, it's everything we're thinking about all day. It just seems like it would add so much needless conflict.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's, I'm with you. I mean, I grew up in a red rural state, so most of my family members and friends are conservative, and most of them are Trump supporters. And, we have sincere, fundamental differences of opinion on politics that I won't sugarcoat. I mean, I love my family members. I don't love their politics. I respect my family members. I do not respect their politics, quite frankly, very often. But it's a different sort of relationship. Even the most intimate friendships and the intimate, familial relationships, it's not the same as, a romantic partner. And especially when so much of that is just predicated entirely on choice, right? And so, it'd be one thing. I think Riley Gaines would have a point. Her fifth place medal would have a point. Listen, I'm not saying that I'm an Olympic level swimmer. I didn't even know you get
medals for fifth place.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they did. I think that they actually had to like hand her like a Post-it note or something with fifth in crayon. I mean, I can't imagine ever getting anything under first place or second place, right? And it just totally defining my personality. It's insane. So anyway, I digress. I mean, can you imagine Riley Gaines being like, a bridesmaid at a wedding and they put her in fifth place, or that she's going to be in fourth, but then they put somebody ahead of her in line? Bro, she'd set the building on fire. Are you kidding me? But anyway, I digress.
Wait, for context, everyone's I know most of you know, but she's like a huge anti-trans activist because she lost to a trans woman or something.
Yeah, I think it was.
Tied.
See, this is what I think she tied with a trans athlete, and this was like 10 years ago or something. Like, it's just, anyway, I digress.
Move forward.
I think she'd have a point if there were studies out saying, you know what, liberals will not date conservatives because they have a 5% differential on preferred tax brackets. They think that six-figure earners should be taxed at, 30%, and the liberals believe it should be 35%.
Right.
I'd understand if you get granular, at a certain point, it's like, all right, is this really reflective of a deep and irreconcilable value difference? No, not in my opinion. But I think there's so much in the MAGA movement. And quite frankly, based on the stuff MAGA says, Luke, MAGA should probably feel the same way. If you really think that liberals are out to destroy this country with their communist Marxism, DEI, CRT, why do you want to date us? Why?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the other point. I was seeing, I wish I had pulled these up, these posts from MAGA accounts that were so irritated at this. And I'm thinking, I thought you were saying we're a bunch of pedo, groomer, communists who want to burn down the country. And
that's
we're all
the polite
cheering the whole
version.
summer of 2020 every time a building blows up. And you want us? I mean, we're not that good at sex, please. My goodness.
And that's them flirting, Luke. That's them flirting with us when they call us, communists, Marxists, anarchists, and all that. I mean, that's the nice version. Yeah.
But it's such a actually profound point to me, because I think it proves a lot of people say those things and they don't believe it. Whereas when I'm saying I feel like you're rejecting a key fundamental tenet of being American with some of these anti-constitutional things you're okay with, I'm not saying that because it sounds nice. I'm saying that because I actually believe it. So if I was sitting in a room with you all the time, I would be buzzing, wanting to, sort of criticize you for being okay with that. Whereas it must reflect, I feel like it kind of must, this sort of polling, that a lot of people who would say if Pew Research came to them and said, do you think that the Democratic Party is XYZ terrible description? And they would answer yes, but then be open to dating someone who's supporting those things, which is so wacky to me. To your point, it's not about political differences right now, because those, I mean, like you said, we disagree on how expansive a particular welfare program should be, or where the tax brackets should be, and all of that. That's normal political disagreements that really wouldn't need to get in the way of your relationship. But when we get down to these fundamental issues, it makes sense that you might be able to have friends, you might be able to have acquaintances and family member, but being in a voluntary romantic relationship with someone with those differences, just like I said, brings on needless conflict.
There's two things that it's funny you said that, because it does suggest like a dissonance, that perhaps even like a subtle disparate goal. So what I mean by that is, if your partner's values don't matter to you. So let's take it all at face value. Like, you know what? I really do believe that liberals are those communist Marxists, blah, 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 but I still want to date them. Then it suggests that you don't think values are important to a person or to your relationship with that person. And so maybe they're just a vector for sex, or, maybe it's just about avoiding loneliness, which in itself has issues. But, when you were describing that dissonance, strangely, the first thing that popped into my head, you remember when the Supreme Court gave Trump immunity and Joe Biden was president, and Republicans were so happy about that decision, but those were the same Republicans who said that Joe Biden's actually a fascist and a tyrant and a communist Marxist trying to assume power. And it's like, if you really believe that, then that Supreme Court decision should scare the hell out of you, given that the current president would also benefit from that sort of immunity, and he's the one with power right now. And they weren't concerned, Luke. They had not a fear in sight, because they knew that whatever their disagreements were with Joe Biden, they knew that Joe Biden could actually be trusted not to break the law in ways that Donald Trump can't. So they told on themselves, didn't they?
Yep.
Didn't they tell on themselves? And isn't that the same thing here?
Absolutely did. Oh, that was so upsetting. Every time, all the immunity you just gave to Biden, so he could do all the things you said that he really secretly wanted to do, but now he's not, and you knew that he won it because you knew we play that by the rules you never do. Jessiah, who would never tie for 5th place, always first place in my heart. Where can people find you?
People can find me at youtube.com/at Pondering Politics, one word. And Luke, it's good to be with you. I agree, you're first place, and Mrs. 5th place, it's good to see her and react to her content as well. Riley Gaines, good for you. Good for you. Keep on. Milk that 5th place position as long as you can.
So brutal.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Just so frustrating. All right, see you, buddy.